In this video series, I'm going to go over how you can test out Windows 10 preview on your desktop or your laptop. We're specifically talking about Windows 10 for a desktop or laptop type of computer that's non-touch. That's because Windows 8 didn't really fit very well with this type of model. So Windows 10 has gone a long way to improve that. They've done things like add the start button back, which people have been wanting forever, and have gone to their own methods to get that back. The start button will be like a hybrid of Windows 7 and Windows 8. So it'll look a lot like Windows 7 start button, but it also has live tiles that you can put in there as well. Another neat thing that they've done is they put in a virtual desktop. What that means is instead of just having one desktop session per monitor, you can have as many as you want. This is something that you see in Linux versions. So that's going to be native to Windows 10 as well. You can also put the Metro apps right on your desktop. Remember in Windows 8, if you used it, if you wanted to use a Metro app, you had to go into the Metro interface and click on it and get into it from there. Well, now you can do everything from the desktop. So it really is a return to the Windows 7 type of experience that everybody actually wanted instead of what they came out with Windows 8. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to download the Windows Technical Preview, and we're going to get that from the Windows Insider program. So just go to insider.windows.com and you'll get to this page here. This is where we're going to get our download. Now you need to join the program if you haven't already, so just click join now here and then just use your existing Microsoft account, or you can set up a new one right here and then either sign in or sign up. Okay, then you'll come to this screen here, and then you'll see that in the description line over here. Just click on the technical preview here. Okay, and then roll down to the download links, and then pick the one you want here. So this is by language. So you have both 64 and 32-bit available here, so pick the one that's right for you. Okay, so I'm going to be doing English 64-bit, so I'll click here and download it. Okay, so once you have that done, you have the version of Windows 10 on your desktop. In the next video, we're going to go over how to get it set up on your computer without disturbing what you already have installed. Now, to run it on our computer without disturbing our existing operating system, we're going to use something called VirtualBox. What VirtualBox does is it creates a system on your computer that the software will think is a separate computer. So your computer will actually be divided with its existing resources into two separate computers. Okay, so we're doing this because if you install Windows 10 Technical Preview on your computer right now, you're going to have to back it all up, back up all your programs, and then install it. And then if you want to go back, which you will, because you're going to have to go back as this isn't a permanent operating system, you'll have to restore it. So it's a pain in the butt. So what we're going to do is we're going to install it in VirtualBox, play around with it, and then if you decide you like it, you can upgrade to Windows 10 when it comes out. Okay, so what we do is we go to virtualbox.org. Okay, so then what you want to do is download your operating system. So if you go over to the left side to downloads, you're going to download the package for your computer. Okay, so I'm going to download for Windows hosts here. You also have for OS X, Linux, and Solaris. So you're pretty much covered here no matter what type of machine you have. Okay, so I'm going to download the one for Windows here. And then once that downloads, we will install VirtualBox. Now the version number that you download may be different from the one I'm downloading here, as they update it every once in a while. So just download the most recent version. Okay, so now we're going to install it. So just click on the file you just downloaded. Just a normal type of thing you would do when you install Windows, or it'll be in your downloads folder. Okay, and then we just go through the setup here. So you can just take the defaults. Okay, whether you want to create a shortcut on the desktop, etc. Okay, so I'm just going to say next. Okay, if you want to proceed, and we'll install. Okay, so this will take a minute to get everything installed for you. Okay, so when you get to here, it's installed. So we'll start it up just by clicking finish here. Okay, and here VirtualBox is now installed. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a virtual machine for our Windows 10 system. So just go over here to where it says new and click on that. Okay, now what you want to do is give it a name. So I'm just going to call it Windows 10. Okay, and then you see here Microsoft Windows, so that's what we want. And then down here, you need to pick your system. Now, this version does not have Windows 10 yet. So what you want to do is use Windows 8.1, and then whichever it is. So I got Windows 8.1 64-bit. Now, if the version you have downloaded has Windows 10 in it, use that. But this is an early adoption here, since I'm using the technical preview. So it's not here yet, but Windows 8.1 will work. Okay, now what this is showing you is the amount of memory to allocate to the machine. This is the virtual machine. So on my system, I have 4 gigabytes of memory. And you'll see on this slide here, there is a green line and a little red line. You want to be within the green line. So I'm going to back this up a tad here and make sure that I'm still within the green part. Okay, and click next. Okay, now create a virtual disk now. We're going to do that. Okay, and then we want a virtual disk image, which is the first option. So click next. Now we want to make it a fixed size. Dynamic size really slows the thing down. So we'll click next. And then what we do here is we allocate how much we want. Okay, so I have this set to 25 gigabytes. That's plenty. You can probably do it with a lot less, but I'm going to allocate 25 gigabytes just to be sure. Create. Okay, and then it goes through and it's going to do some stuff here. This could take a while. So just wait for that to finish. Okay, and there we go. We now have our virtual machine created. Now, we're going to go in and tweak it just a bit here. So let's go to settings. Okay, so this will come out now, and I'll go to where it says system here. Now make sure that you have enable IO/APIC if it isn't checked. Okay, now go over here to where it says processor, and you'll see you have your CPU up here. And again, we have the green and the red line. Now, this is a dual core that I have here, so I can go up to 2 processors. Now, usually you want to set this at half your processor. So if you have an 8 core, set it to 4 cores. However, if you only have a dual core, set it to 2 cores. I found that everything performs just fine when you set it at 2 cores. It does a good job of sharing with the native operating system. Okay, and then go to acceleration here and make sure that these 2 boxes are checked. Okay. Okay, now go over to display. And then we want to enable the acceleration here on both of them. We're going to skip by storage for the moment. Okay, and then we're going to go down to network, and this should be all right, just as long as it is set at NAT, okay, which means that it's going to go through your existing network. Okay, once you've done that, click OK. And we now have our virtual machine set up so that it is optimized for our install. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to go get Windows 10 set up in our virtual machine. Okay, now it is time to set up our machine. So what we do now is go back into settings, and then we're going to go down to storage. Okay, so now what we're going to do is click where it says empty here. This is our DVD drive. Okay, and then we're going to click this little thing over here, and we're going to click Windows Virtual CD DVD disk file, which is what we downloaded. So click that. Okay, and in our download file, you'll see there is our Windows technical preview. So we'll click open, and that is now mounted. So we'll click OK. Okay, so our disk is mounted. All we have to do now is click start. Now this is going to do the same thing as if you put a Windows DVD in your computer and close the door. And it will start up, and it's going to start the install in a window here. Okay, so here is our window. There it's bringing up VirtualBox. Now it runs a lot slower in VirtualBox than it's going to run if it's native. Okay, let me bring this up a bit here. You'll see that we have some things here. We have machine, view, devices, and help. View allows you to switch the view to a scaled mode. You don't want full screen as it doesn't work quite right. It makes it full screen, but the size of the display doesn't change. And machine, this is where you can power it off and so on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to wait for a minute until it comes up with the next step. Okay, now just something I should mention here is that the right side control key and the shift key together are the host key. So those will do what the host key does within the system here. So the host key gives you access to some things. We'll get to that a little later. Okay, so you see that our first step is up here. We have our language, which we set up already. This is for our keyboard. Okay, so let's click next and then install now. Okay, so this is now going to go through the install process. I have the bottom cut off a little bit so it'll fit into my recording window here, but I could slide it down here. It's not cutting off much there, but just thought I'd make you aware. Okay, so now we just need to accept the agreement. So click there, click next. Now, whether you're going to upgrade or we're going to do a custom install. So we're going to install only Windows. This is what we're going to want to do here. Okay, and then it found our drive here, 25 gigabytes. So we'll click next. Okay, and now it's showing us the steps that it's going to go through here. So we'll just wait for that to finish. You may get prompted a couple times. It may restart as well. Okay, so we're coming along to the last step here. Okay, so it restarted, or it's restarting now. And now when it first came up, when it restarted, it asked to press any key to boot from the CD or DVD. When I didn't do that, it's now booting through the actual installed virtual machine. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to change that in a minute here, but let's get through the initial startup steps first. Okay, next, after it restarts again, you'll see it comes up with settings, and we have express settings here, and it'll do everything for you. You can read the list here, but it's a complete install. Now you can change that if you want. If you go down to, I don't have it all on one screen here because I have it reduced, but you see here, use express settings or custom. So if you want to use custom, you can click on custom and go through it that way. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead with the express settings. Okay, so now it's going to go through. We're going to set up our account. Okay, so just like Windows 8, it's attached to a Microsoft account. So if we have one, you can sign in here. If you don't have an account, you can come down here and you can create an account. Now again, just like with Windows 8, you can choose not to use a Microsoft account. So if we click down here, we can bypass that. Okay, so now I'm just going to set up my own account here. Okay, now again, I'm hidden underneath the, down at the bottom here. I'm going to scroll down a bit to find it, but this will all be in one screen if you have it maximized on your computer. Okay, so it's finalizing our settings now. Okay, so now we're going to wait for it to go through its additional steps here. And it goes through here, and it just tells you about the different things you can do. Okay, so now our machine is set up here, and we're ready to go. But what I want to do, see, I still have this scroll going on here, but what I want to do is I want to change something in the virtual machine so that it doesn't boot from DVD anymore. So what we want to do is click the X up in the right-hand corner. That's not visible to you right now, but it's just like you stop any other Windows program. Okay, and then what we want to do is power off. Okay, and this will release the settings for the virtual machine. All right, now let's go into settings. And then we want to go to storage. Then we want to click underneath the IDE controller. This is our Windows disk. Right click here and remove attachment. Remove. Okay, then click OK. Now it won't be booting from the DVD anymore. So let's do a start and we'll bring it back up to the state it was before. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to go over some tips on how to use Windows 10 Technical Preview. Okay, in this video, we're going to go over some usage tips. Okay, now I signed in for the first time with my new ID. Okay, now I told you before that if you hit the right control key, you can do different things. And I put this into scaling mode by hitting Control and C. Okay, now here it is back. And what scrolling scaling mode did was it took this menu off here and allowed me to scale the window. See, if I extend the window, you'll see that I have white bars on the side, and some of the window is below my recording area here. So I have to scrunch it up to get it in here, and then once I do that, then I have to roll down to get it in the window. Okay, so let me go into this menu up here and we'll do view, and you see we can switch to full screen with host and F. So if I hit my right control key and the letter F, it will go into full screen. And this is telling you about scaling mode, which is what it was when I first came in here. It was host and C. And then we can adjust the window with host and A. So let's hit host, which is right control and A. Okay, and then we can adjust the window like so. Okay, so this is just kind of what I had before, where it's going to have the scrolling. Okay, so if I hit Control C, and then it comes up and it tells you what it is, and you can turn this off if you want, but I like to leave it up just to remind myself. Okay, and now if I look up here, see the menu key is gone. All right, so now if I go to the bottom here and I scroll it, or I move it up into the current window, there we go. Okay, now if I move it this way, it adjusts the window top and bottom and side. So it moves things out of my range here, or at least the range you can see. So get it to where it's comfortable for you. Okay, so now we have here our desktop, and down at the bottom, our start button and our taskbar. Okay, so let's go down here and click the start button. Okay, now you see that we have some live tiles on the right, and we have a Windows 7 looking menu on the left side. Okay, so this is like our typical Windows 7. We have our user up here. If we click here, we can do our power options. We have documents, pictures, PC settings, which will take us into settings, File Explorer. Okay, we're used to that. Snipping tool, and then calculator, sticky notes, paint, games, and then we have here all apps. Okay, now once we're in all apps, these are the apps that we have installed by default. So it's a very bare set because we don't have anything installed on here. This is just the bare Windows install. Okay, so for instance, if we were to launch Internet Explorer, of course that's going to come up. We got maps, music, news. Okay, and then over on the right side here, we have some default things. So we have Windows feedback. We have our music, Skype, video, and that's our OneDrive, people, calendar. Okay, what I want to get to though is store. So let's click on store. This is the same thing we had before in Windows 8 where you can go in and you can download apps. Okay, so this is where Windows 8 differs from Windows 7, and Windows 10 differs from Windows 7 is that we have an actual app store. Now the apps will act independently rather than within the Metro interface like they did when we were using Windows 8. So that's kind of nice. We can now use our apps right on the desktop. Okay, so here we are now in the App Store. Okay, so we can go through it here. Now as I say, I'm in a window mode here, so I have to mess around a little bit so I can show you how it all works by moving the window up and down to in my recording area. But it's a little easier. You can just use your mouse and roll across when you're on your own computer and you're not trying to squeeze it in somewhere with these bars. So you'd put it in scaling mode. Okay, so let's install a free app just to get started here. So we can go and we can search as well. Okay, so let's go up to the search on the top here. And let's put Facebook. Let's click on that. Now, of course, when you're in a virtual machine, it's going to run much slower than it's going to run natively. So you're going to have to be a little bit patient when you're using this in a virtual machine. Now, obviously, it'll probably be faster than what I do now because I'm also running my recording software at the same time. Okay, so all you got to do now is click install, and it'll bring up whatever rights it needs. Okay, now since I used a local account, it's wanting a Microsoft account to sign in to the store. Okay, so I'll put in my current password here. Okay, so if I had to set up a Microsoft account at the beginning or sign into one, then this wouldn't be an issue, but I was just going through the demo. But I do suggest that you do that. You get a lot more functionality when you use a Microsoft account. Okay, so again, we can either sign into an existing one or we can create one. So I'll just sign into an existing one. Okay, so keep in mind, I could have avoided all this by just setting up with my Microsoft account at the beginning. Now, if you don't want to use the store during your preview or you don't want to use a Microsoft account, then by all means, you can just do what I did, just use a local account. Okay, so it's just telling us what's going to happen here with OneDrive. Okay, so yes, we're going to switch to a Microsoft account. Okay, so now it's brought me back to Facebook or to the store into Facebook so that I can finish the installation. Okay, so as you see, it's installed it. Down here, it's just asking me to add some info to pay for paid apps. I'm not going to do that, so just ask me later. All right, so now let's go back. Now, let me roll down here so you can see the whole screen. Okay, so here we are. Now let's go down to the Start menu. Okay, and then we have installed Facebook now. So if we go to All Apps, you should see Facebook in here. Okay, and here we are. There's Facebook. Now, if I right click on this, I can open, uninstall, pin to the Start menu, or pin to the taskbar. So let's pin it to the Start menu. Okay, and this is how we get our live tiles over to this side of the menu. Okay, so if I click on this now, it'll bring up the Facebook app. Okay, now I don't really want to be in this, so I'm just going to go down to the taskbar here, right click on this. I'm going to close the window. Okay, just like on any other version of Windows, same with the store here. Right click on this one and close the window. And we're back to our desktop. Okay, now if we go across here, okay, so this is the File Explorer. These are the things that are on here by default. We have Internet Explorer. Okay, and then here we have Task Viewer. If you click on that, you can add a desktop. Remember I said before that we can add a second desktop, or a third, or a fourth, or however many we want. So we have virtual desktops. Okay, so with these virtual desktops, we can set them up however we like. So we can have different workspaces. Let me show you here. Let's go into the Start. Let's open the calculator. And let's open Paint. And then let's open one more program here. We'll open the snipping tool. Okay, now with virtual desktops, what you can do is let's go into here, into the task manager, and let's open up some virtual desktops. So let's create one more so we have 3. Okay, so let's go back and we'll open this again like that. So we're in our main window here. Now we're going to go into tab mode. Once you're in your main window, you can open up in tab mode. Okay, now let's say that we want to move each of these to its own window. So let's leave this one on window 1. Let's put this one on desktop 2. So I shouldn't have clicked on that, but we'll go back in there. So if we want to move this one to desktop 2, all we have to do is right click on it and then move to and then pick up the desktop. So we want desktop 2. Okay, and then let's say we want to move this one to desktop 3. Okay, so now when we go to desktop 1, there's the snipping tool. We go to desktop 2, there is paint.net. And when we go to desktop 3, there's the calculator. Okay, now you can also use the Windows tab or the Windows key and the arrows to get you back into here, and then you can just pick the one you want. Okay, so that's how you use the virtual desktop, and I think this is one of the neatest features for productivity, especially if you're only dealing with one monitor. Now you have as many desktops as you want where you can be performing different tasks. Okay, now one more thing I want to show you here is the live tiles. So I installed Netflix on here, and this is showing us what I was searching on or what I played last. So it's scrolling through here to see it's a live tile. But if you right click on these tiles, you can do different things here. We can unpin, we can pin it to the taskbar, we can uninstall it right from here and resize. So we could resize this one to a medium size, and you'll see that it jumped in with this one here. Okay, now we can move these around too, so we can grab a hold and move them wherever we want. So we can organize it the way we like, and of course we can resize it once it's here. So let's make it large. Okay, so you can set them up all the way you like them, and then you have your live tiles in here. So your live ones you can make bigger, so they're useful, and the ones that aren't live you could make smaller. Okay, so there's no reason for this one to be large, so we'll make it small again. Okay, so that is how you can use the live tiles in the start menu. Okay, so now you have Windows 10 set up in a virtual machine so that you can test it out.